Hello and welcome to Hotline Sehwani. Just so you know, this is a two-part interview with our special guest, Wally Wingert, who is known for voicing Riddler in the Batman Arkham games. If you have not seen part 1, click the card now. Otherwise, enjoy the video. So, so some of your other, TV show experiences and whatnot, I mentioned you said Bleach. I know you had some voices in Naruto, right? So I guess, so from there, how does it feel as far as, because I was kind of looking over some of your, your IMDb and some of the other voices in your CV, just to kind of get a kind of fuller picture of some of your voices, right? And some of those shows, specifically the animes, you kind of voice a couple different characters, right? So how is it when, you voice the Riddler, you voice this character in Invader Zim, and those are like yours, like this is it. But then when you have to voice, some more one-off characters, right, where it's like, hey, like we need this today, or hey, we need this for this episode. Like, how do you go into that? Like, is it, do you have a little more creative freedom over it? Is it like, do you get the context of the script? How does that go?
Well, for the little incidental characters,
Sure.
Well, he's 17 and he's fat. That's all.
That's all they'll tell you.
In the anime, you actually see it. You dub your voice to the picture.
Ah, okay.
The animation already exists because it was a show in Japan, completed and finished, and it aired, and then they dubbed it to English over here. So, in the case of anime, the animation exists already, and you just kind of put your voice to the lip flaps.
Mm-hmm.
But shows like The Garfield Show, Family Guy, Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Invader Zim, those are where you do what's called a radio show. You sit around with an ensemble group of actors, and you read off a script, and then they animate actually to your voice.
Mm.
It's kind of cool. So that's the difference between what they call original animation versus anime.
Yeah, that's actually interesting as far as the anime, because I didn't know that you guys would voice, like they'll show you the scene and they're like, this is your character. So do you find that more, like, do you find that easier, or is it more difficult for you?
Difficult.
Yeah,
more restrictive. I've always said that the anime actors are actually some of the best actors in the business because of all the limitations. You know how if you're the fastest runner in a track meet, it's probably because you practiced with a bunch of weights on your ankle. And you had to slog, and now when you're in the race, you don't have the weights on your ankle. Like, oh, I feel so light and feathery. So you have all these restrictions as you are going into an anime. You have to A, stay in voice, B, your acting has to be good, and C, you have to match the lip flaps. You can't keep talking after the mouth is shut.
yeah.
You have to, if there's and the writers are pretty good at taking the original Japanese line, taking the intent of that line, and writing it to the lip flaps. Like, well, now it's a consonant, now it's a vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel.
Oh boy.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's underwritten, sometimes it's overwritten to where they write it too long for the amount of time that the lips are flapping. So that, you have to kind of improvise in the studio with the director and say, well, how about if I just say blah, 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 and then we can fit it all in one line. So it's really, really restrictive. But like I said, that's the true test of how good an actor you are. Can you hit all those marks? Can you have your timing right, your acting right, your voice right, and have the intent and still make it come off pretty good? Remember the old joke about the old Japanese monster movies, that the American or the English voiceover would always be so stilted and bad, and they would talk in a voice like this, and sometimes they would, because they're trying to match those lips, and it ended up sounding goofy in English because it's not the same cadence as what the Japanese is.
Yeah.
That's why that became kind of a joke. And you don't really see that in anime because you're only seeing either open, close, open, close, open, close, maybe an occasional O or whatever. But you just have to mind the flaps, as they say. And it's really great when you get cast in a show like Tiger and Bunny, where they have helmets on in their armor all the time, and you don't see lip flaps.
That must have been so rejoiceful for you. You're like, yes.
We could improvise and we could do stuff and change the lines or whatever because we weren't married to the lip flaps. The three most beautiful letters to an anime actor to ever see in print is MNS before a line, mouth not seen.
Ah.
MNS, mouth not seen. Oh, good. We can take our time and do. So sometimes but Japan is great because they know that these are going to be dubbed later to probably to English.
Mhm.
So you don't have to have the main character, right up here all the time talking like this. Sometimes they'll have over the shoulder. Sometimes they'll have long shots of them talking because they know they're going to be, dubbed, and like, well, let's make it easy on them and give them a few areas where they don't have to.
Yeah, where they can like rest assured. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's maybe that's the reason why they developed like the, in anime there's always like that cliche like master senpai where his back is always facing the camera because that's just an easy go-to character with everything.
It's an easy go-to if you're trying to dub it. And after a long dialogue scene of the villain telling somebody something, it sure is refreshing to see those MNS. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's just like exactly, just like a marathon. It's like take off the weights, you're good. You have to relax a little bit.
Married to those damn lip flaps.
That's so funny because those are things that nobody would ever like realize. As far as the work going into it, where you have to match the mouth and everything. That's nuts.
Right.
Really, really cool. So let's say let's kind of jump into some of the more the TV stuff that you've done on Sonic Boom and getting into the Sonic series and whatnot. I know you were more of a side character for that, but that's something I feel that you kind of built out on your own too. So getting into Sonic Boom and Sonic overall as Cubot, what were some of like the cues or kind of going into that, because he's kind of like a wacky character, right? So
yeah.
Well,
he and Orbot are like a comedy team. They initially in the game they had a Cubot that had a wrong voice chip or something.
Yeah, so you're gonna jump around.
He'd talk like a cowboy, and then he's talking like a pirate. And he was have all these other voices that he would do. So they brought me in for that because they knew that I could do all the different voice chip characters. And then finally, when it went to series, they said, okay, well now we've settled on one, voice for him, and we think it sounds a little bit like the guy that owns the bar on The Simpsons, but less less belching, and he and less drunk, it was kind of like this, and okay, that kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, we can do that with the crack in the voice and kind of back in the throat, and okay, oh, Dr. Eggman. That's pretty fun. So, but Orbot is so C-3PO. He's so precise, and he's so, oh, what are we going to do? And then you get, I don't know. I'm going to go over here. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. So it kind of like almost like Laurel and Hardy in a way. And I love Laurel and Hardy, and I always use that comparison because you do have your kind of, affected kind of Oliver Hardy, always so prim and proper, and then you have Stan just over here, looking at some, butterfly that's flying by, with a very little low attention span. So it was pretty funny. But again, the writing on the show is just so funny that you really didn't need to add anything else. Occasionally you would add a few things, but you didn't really need to add much to that writing. It was so brilliant.
Sure.
And then they had us do all kinds of other characters as well, like Willy Walrus and the sidekick guy on the late night talk show. Forget what
they probably heard you did Jay Leno. They're like, he's good for this,
Yeah. Because he was kind of like, yes, you are correct, sir.
Yeah.
Ed McMahon, So that was kind of a meta, kind of thing. It's like, oh, he's the real announcer on the Tiny Show, but he'll be the announcer on this. So what was that show in the Sonic Boom where they do the talk show? Do you remember? And they had the sidekick and they had the main host.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
And
I know exactly what you were talking about though. It was like the chimp.
Chimp. Comedy chimp.
Comedy chimp. Yeah.
Comedy chimp,
there you go.
And the sidekick, which I forget, but comedy chimp. Yeah, that was voiced by Bill Freiberger, one of the writers, the head writer.
Oh, really? Okay, that's funny.
Funny, yeah. And then I got to do, hey, Willie Walrus, hey, which was, Dangerfield, and a bunch of other characters, which really fun. But I haven't really seen that show after. I need to buy the series on DVD and watch them all, I guess, because it would come on TV at a time that I was never up or whatever. So I had a boatload of fun doing them.
You're not up at 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings?
Going to bed at 8 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would like to actually see those because they are pretty darn funny. But I need note to self. I need to order that set. I think they're on DVD, aren't they?
Yeah, they're on DVD.
Both seasons. Oh, good.
Yeah, but that's funny you would mention. I mean, one of the things that I really did like about the TV series for Sonic Boom was, in the video games, because initially you came on as one of the video game for Cubot, you're voicing him in the game, and it was interesting to see that transition from the video game voice actors kind of coming in to the TV, because everyone was very, it kind of almost felt like the shackles were off and everyone was kind of having fun with it, as far as like how the character is. Like, did you feel like you had a little more freedom kind of bouncing from voicing him into the games and into the TV shows and then back into the games?
Well, remember in the game, he never had his voice.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing a bunch of other voices, cowboy, pirate, a bunch of other characters, cabbie, I think, was one of his voice chips. So it was freeing in that, well, now we know he just...
Like they established it, yeah.
Established now that he's going to have one voice.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing where they brought me in and they said, well, you were Cubot in the games, but he has a new voice chip where he's now going to just be this voice. And I said, well, what do you hear for him? And they said, well, we hear, like I said, Barney from Simpsons.
Sure.
So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And that's who he became. And it played off Orbot really kind of perfectly. So it was great. So different, but the same, but really different from the video games.
Mm-hmm.
Because now when you give him a new voice, that kind of changes a lot of aspects of the personality.
Sure.
Visually, he was still floating around and doing his usual thing, but he just said a lot more wacky stuff now than he used to when he was a cowboy or a pirate.
Yeah.
So now they could really hone in on these two guys. And I think I loved the episode most where there was a lot of different Cubots. I think there was like 100 Cubots or something. And
oh, yeah, exactly.
Cubot with hat, Cubot with monocle, Cubot missing arm. And they all had some sort of individual quirk about them. But in the script, it was like all these different Cubots. But they all kind of sounded the same, which was really, really funny. Like I said, those shows were a blast.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely a good series to check out if you guys haven't already. Kind of jumping into, and I know we're kind of coming up here on an hour 20, so I want to kind of help wrap it up a little bit. You were right. When I first scheduled Wally, he said, I scheduled him for like 30, 40 minutes. He goes, yeah, that's not going to be enough time. I got a lot to talk about. Before you know it, it was all, you got me with Adam West and the Riddler and Invader Zim. And
there's a lot of fun stories.
Yeah. So kind of, jumping a little bit into, some of your experiences on Family Guy and then, the Marvel Avengers show that you did too. And hello, Mr. Muppet. Jumping in. Would he like to answer the question?
Hello?
Yes.
What's going on?
How's it going?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Who's that? I don't know. Who are you?
What's going on? You're on Hotline Sehwani. What do you want to say to the
Bring
viewers?
on. Test. Test. 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Hello?
Hello.
Do you know who that is?
It's one of the Muppets. I don't remember the name though.
Well, it's Grover. But Grover started out in the early days of Sesame Street as a green character.
He did?
He was green in the early days. They changed him to blue later, but he was initially a character named Gleep. And he was one of the Henson Muppets before he got the job on Sesame Street. So they just kind of repurposed him for Sesame Street, and he would show up and they would call him a bunch of different names like Fuzzy Face and whatever. But eventually they settled on his name, Grover, and he sounded a little bit like, it was Frank Oz, but he sounded between Cookie Monster and what he eventually ended up doing for Grover. And it wasn't
Hi, Grover.
and it wasn't Cookie Monster.
So, let me see. I'm gonna go over there and get 9 blocks. Okay. Let's see. 9 blocks. No, I don't know what 9 is. Okay. Well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go over there 9 times and get 1 block. Ah, good. 9 times, 1 block. Okay. Here I go.
And he'd go off and get a block and come back.
1 block.
Now go get another block.
One more. Come on, let's go.
Okay. 1 more block. Okay.
And he'd make him do it 9 times, and because he couldn't go over there 1 time and get 9 blocks. It was a great sketch. But yeah, so they eventually decided to turn him blue, make him a little different. But they repurposed the Gleep Muppet into Grover's mom for a couple of episodes. They put a bonnet on him, and he became Grover's mom, which was
That's so funny.
The original Gleep puppet is in the Smithsonian on display there, so it's pretty cool. So pretty neat. So making puppets during the last couple of months where we have a lot of time on our hands, and I said, you know what? Everybody makes a blue Grover.
Let's see the original. Let's be unique.
The OG Grover.
That's funny.
I think he's pretty cool. And there was a lot of similarities, like the red lip that they eventually put in the blue Grover. But they changed the color of blue and then a pink nose and the whole thing. But still a lot of similarities. But I said, nah, I want to make the green Grover because I don't think anybody has ever made a green Grover.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I didn't know that because you know how in Sesame Street and the Muppets, like they'll have like kind of different color variations. They're all their own characters. So I wasn't aware of how he was the original. So I was going to ask you a question about Family Guy, but let's just go into the Muppets because now I'm more interested.
Oh, no, I'm done. I was just going to say that Oscar, when he was originally on Sesame Street, he was orange.
Really?
Oscar was orange, yeah.
And so I'm assuming you're a big Sesame Street fan.
Oh, yeah, always have. Well, my
time.
first job from Muppets to Sesame Street, my first job on Family Guy was doing the voice of Bert.
Okay.
I'd always done the voice of Bert and Cookie Monster and all the voices when I was a kid. So when they were looking for a when they were looking for a voice of Bert, I said, "Oh, I can do that. I've done that since 5th grade."
Well, Ernie, I hate it when you eat cookies in the damn bed.
So I said, I can totally do that.
Yeah.
So that kind of played into my love for Sesame Street and the Muppets. So I got hired on Family Guy. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great story. Boring. So I'm gonna go over here and just take a nap. Okay. All right. Because you're boring me to death.
Sorry for boring you. See you later. That's awesome. So you said you made these then? You made the replicas, huh?
I've been building puppets since I was about 19.
Wow, that's awesome.
And some of them in my collection I actually bought. I had a professional, like a real, honest to goodness puppet maker, builder make them. But for some of the other ones, I said, well, I'm going to make a Rolf the dog. I'm going to make Robin the Frog. I'm going to make a Green Grover. I'm going to make a Beautiful Day, which is, again, some of the older Muppets that most people don't know, except me because I'm such a huge fan. And I said, I'm going to make a Beautiful Day with the blinking, eyes. And but the largest challenge was to make an Oscar, with the trash can, the whole thing, and make the eye blink mechanism inside so he can frown.
That's awesome.
And it was really, really kind of crazy. I'm working on a new one now. I swore that I was done, but then I said, you know what would really be cool? I was at Joann's the other day and I found these 2 styrene balls. And I said, well, these would be kind of cool because that's kind of looking like somebody I know. Right there.
Cookie Monster.
So I said, Cookie Monster was the first puppet I built when I was a kid, but I cannot find a good blue fur. So I'm buying a bunch of swatches of different blue furs because I want to make the Cookie Monster how he looked in the 70s when I grew up. I don't like the royal blue that he is today. He was a lighter blue for a while, I think throughout the 80s. I like the kind of more darker Cookie Monster blue, but this is a little too dark. So I'm looking for a really good, almost kind of a turquoise blue fur that I can buy to make him. But and Cookie Monster is always kind of fun because he looks simple, but he's actually not, because I'm relatively certain that what they use for his mouth is pieces of leather that's, thick leather, like you'd use on a belt or something, not leather that you put on make a shirt out of, but enough to give it resilience, but also where you can kind of bend it down to make him, kind of frown a little bit. So it's got to be flexible, but still, rigid enough to put your hand in.
Exactly.
And then to make the eyes go wobbly, they're plastic discs on little pins stuck in the big eyeballs. So they're like a pinwheel. So when the movement of the mouth happens, it sends the eyes spinning. That's how they do that. But that's
supposed to be really cool and like rewarding to figure out how like it all works together.
The chase is part of the fun. Then you build them and they're done. Then you put them on display in your room, and then you just never really do much with them anymore. Unless
that's a good point. Like I mean, because I'm sure a lot of people will watching will be like, it's Cookie Monster. It has the blue in the eyes, and you're like, no, actually, like I need to figure out how the mouth will work with the eyes and vice versa.
Cookie Monster is one of the only ones that has 5 fingers. All the other Muppets.
A little Sesame Street fun fact for you guys.
But Cookie Monster also has, when he opens his mouth, a chute built into the fabric in the mouth where you can actually put food down his throat. Now, when he eats the cookies, they mostly fly everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah, exactly.
So when you got Cookie Monster, because I remember doing this when I was a kid, and I had a Cookie Monster, and he had the slot, and he would eat stuff. And I'd be nom 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 nom, and stuff would fly everywhere, but you'd get it on your hair because you're underneath, and some of the crumbs are coming in through the puppet's mouth. It's really kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he has a little slot there, so the puppeteer can actually move the stuff in his mouth. It's great.
That's hysterical.
But yeah,
so, other than the some of the Muppets that you built from Sesame Street, not naturally, has there been any other like puppets that you built from other series, or has it really just been kind of focused on that?
I'm a Muppet guy. It's like, well, what? Do you like all the Batman movies?
Of course.
Not really. I'm into 66 Batman. That's kind of
sure.
what I do. And now, of course, I like the Arkham series for obvious reasons. But Kevin's my second favorite Batman. Right after Adam.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's pretty great. But not a lot of the other Batman stuff tweaks me, just because it's not really my Batman.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's your Batman.
I like the blue satin, this, and the gray, and the bright utility belt, and the comedy of it, and the heroism, and all the stuff that they do with that. So that's my Batman.
Sure.
I don't like him too dark. I like the Bright Knight, as Adam called himself, not the Dark Knight.
That's funny. He was definitely a character. That's so cool that you had such that a tight, close relationship with him.
So I'm more of a Bright Knight fan. I like
Bright Knight. Yeah. And Kevin's a great Batman too. So.
Oh, he sure is. Because he walks that line between, he doesn't go too dark, but he doesn't go too light. He walks that line perfectly. And he's a real threatening Batman, but he's not.
Exactly. We always laugh at that. Like I remember when I first heard, I was like, "What did he say? Like, what did he do?" But I was
I'm not quite sure how that one ever made it through. But who might have?
I think it was just more of like a realism thing, and I don't know, kind of seeing that. But and some of the other actors, like with Heath Ledger as Joker and all that, but. I agree. Where I remember reading a comment on one of the latest Batman movies, and people were like, "I want a movie with Kevin, but he just dubs the voice of Batman like throughout the whole movie."
If you look at Kevin though, he looks like Batman too. He can totally. I don't look a thing like the Riddler. I need to lose 120 pounds. I'd have get down to 75 pounds. I don't look at that, but Kevin could actually, and he's played obviously Bruce Wayne in the crossover series on CW, where he's actually played Bruce Wayne, which is brilliant. It's like, what took you so long? but he actually looks like when the series was on Fox Kids, and I looked at the guy and I was like, who's the voice of Batman? And he was at my agency, and my agent at the time, Christine, said, yeah, we got the voice of Batman. Kevin Conroy's his name. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm figuring it. Remember Alan Soule? Does that name ring any bells to you? He was an on-camera actor, but he would do the voice of Batman in all the old Hanna-Barbera stuff. Well, Robin, we're going to go over here and try this now. Get your bat cookie out. We might see Scooby. He was a real happy Batman, you know? And his name was Olan Soule. And you saw him in a million on-camera performances. But you see him, and he's about as big around as this mic stand. And he's like kind of receding hairline and just a real nebbishy looking guy. But he was the voice of Batman. So you expect anybody that is going to be the voice of Batman based on that probably going to be kind of a nebbish and kind of whatever. But then you see Kevin like, holy cow, he actually kind of looks like Batman. He's got the square jaw, and you could put him in a costume and you could go do it tomorrow.
Yeah. So, the thing about him, and because Adam West and Kevin, you know, they're distinct in their own right. Like they're great in their own ways. You know, they're hard to compare to each other because they play very different Batmans. But you know, with him, it's not kind of where you said, where it's that intimidation factor that he gives off as Batman, not so much of like this scary, raspy, like, you know, where's the trigger? Where's the trigger? Tell me where it is, you know? So,
night.
Yeah. So he's very good at that. So, let's you know, I'm going to ask you a couple quick closing questions.
Shark repellent bat spray. There was when we were doing Earth's Mightiest Heroes, we were goofing around because we had Mark Hamill and all these different guys, Brian Blue and all these other people.
Oh, that must have been a hoot. That was a lot of fun.
What a hoot. And and I would say, and it kept breaking up. I can't remember if it was which one of the guys it might have been Rick Wasserman, but every time I'd say it would just completely break him up. It's just a simple line from the 66 series. And Adam just goes, keep dancing, Robin. It's that line. You don't have to know what the scenario is.
Yeah.
The line is funny. And just in a dead spot during the recording, I just go, keep dancing, Robin. And laugh because keep dancing, Robin. It just, but there was in this episode there was somebody had electrified the floor, you know, heated up the floor, and you had to keep, you know, doing the Irish jig, you know, and their hands were tied, and they couldn't burn their feet, you know, because they had to keep dancing. So Robin's like, I'm getting tired, Batman. He's like, keep dancing, Robin. Keep
doing it. Yeah.
Hilarious, just hilarious.
There's so many classic lines from the Adam West show. It's definitely, you know, a great watch. Well, I always enjoy going back to them too.
That's what made him so great on Family Guy, is they knew how to write for him, and he just didn't take himself, Adam, ever too seriously. He knew what he was there for, and when, you know, Mayor West is trying out for the church choir, he's singing George Michael's Faith, you know, and I was there for that recording session. I was watching it. It was great. And I think he walks by he does this, you gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. Then he walks past the minister and he goes, you know where to find me.
Good show. Yeah, he was definitely Adam West. Is the icon. He's the guy. So he's definitely a classic, and it's comedic genius. To your point and to your experience, right?
An unsung comedic genius, which now I think we all pretty much know that he was a comedic genius.
Sure.
But but his sense of humor just so dry, and it was, you again, you know.
Back again. Oh, I gotta sign this again. That's funny.
He was great.
So to kind of close and wrap a couple things up. I know we got into a lot of really fun and good stories from yourself and from your career. And what would be something that somebody getting into voice acting, they want to try to get into it? Like, what would be your first piece of advice to them?
Act. As
far as kind of getting into the role, That was I'm gonna say this because I've spoken to a few people already, and that is always like the number one thing. They're like, remember, it's voice.
Acting.
So
A lot of
that's
people, I have a really good voice. People say I should be a voice actor. Oh, you're an
Yeah.
actor? Oh, I would never do that. I want to be a voice actor. No. Have you ever been on stage and taken a script and had to read somebody else's words but make it sound like they're your own? Oh, I don't want to be that. I want to be in voiceover. Well, it's voice acting. You have to. You're still acting. You're still there. In front of a, mic stand and a microphone and a script, and you still have to act and make it sound like it's coming out of the top of your head.
sure.
So it's still acting. It's just that you're not, you don't have a camera on you, so you still have to deliver. So yeah, it's all about the acting. And then if you want to, then if you learn to act and you're trained, and then you're quite good at it, then if you want to continue to hone those skills, because I did a lot of plays and I did a lot of other stuff before I moved out here, and I had done a lot of stuff. But then I saw voiceover. I was like, oh, that's the girl I want to marry. Yeah, but it really is all about acting, and all of those characters that I had done both on stage just as impressions, like when I used to do Andy Kaufman and Elvis and all these other characters, I didn't need to be in a play, and I would dress up as the Adam West Batman and just walk around town and talk to kids, and that was what Andy Kaufman would call the theater of life, where it's not on a stage, but you're still doing theater.
Sure.
Part of life. And so between that and I got improv training by doing that stuff, but I also got classical theater training in, different plays and, Grease, Amadeus, Fiddler on the Roof, all the plays.
Sure.
But so yeah, just armed with all of that knowledge, I came out here, and then plus as a radio DJ and knowing that whole medium of just sound only, I was like, yeah, I really kind of like this voiceover thing. It really kind of
Resonates.
speaks to me. Yeah.
So you heard it here first. You gotta act. You have to get into it. You have to know what you're doing, because if you go in and they show you some lines, it's not just about reading them. It's not that easy.
To embody them, they have to come right out of your soul.
Yeah. You have to become the character.
Some of those Riddler lines, I would never speak like that in a million years unless I was in LA traffic and I was yelling at people. The Riddler kind of comes out when I'm stuck in LA traffic.
Yeah.
You fool! Do you have any idea what I can do with this car?
That was my follow-up question was, how would the Riddler, being the Riddler and being the step behind him, so how would the Riddler use some of the Muppets in a Batman scheme?
Riddler and puppets. I don't need to put puppets on my hand. You are my puppet, Batman. You're the only puppet I have an interest in manipulating. So, by the way, do you have Waze?
I do.
Oh, okay. Did you know that you can have a Batman or the Riddler tell you how to get places for a couple weeks?
Really?
As of Monday, look at your Waze app, and you can choose the Riddler or Batman to direct you places.
Wow. That's hysterical.
I've been keeping that secret for about a month, and it's been killing me because it was such a great idea, such a great application for that kind of
thing. The Riddler giving me directions in my car. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Turn left or right. I don't know. Which way will it be?
Let's go left. Batman will never find us there. So look on your Waze app and check it out. A lot of people are having fun. There was a guy who tweeted me that said, "I'm crying right now. Batman just told me how to get to the hardware store, and I'm going to have the Riddler tell me how to get home."
That's hysterical.
And the other day I tweeted out and I said, I'm going to have the Riddler. I've got a session on the west side of LA, and I'm going to have the Riddler give me directions how to get there. Oh, I'm not going to turn on my Waze app. I'm just going to do the Riddler voice and give myself directions. I don't need the app. I just tell myself, turn left here, you imbecile.
That's so funny. I guess that ties into my next question. I was going to ask you, in close, was there anything you wanted to plug or want to say and let people check out? So you got the Waze app. Is there anything you want people to check out? Any new projects to be aware of on your end?
I'm trying to think of anything that I can actually talk about.
Well, just not revealing new stuff, but just like some recent things that you've worked on that you would want people to check out.
Well, I did a thing yesterday for a video game, doing some character voices that I had done before. So it was old territory that I got to have fun playing on again. But the application of these characters was so unique and clever that, because I walk a fine line in this business of fan actor, almost a fan, so which is great. That it was so cool when they showed me the completed footage. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to break the internet when people see this, because they've never seen these characters in this sort of application before. This is all new, and it's brilliant. And I was very excited to work on it because they had showed me that. They said, the fan in me of this franchise is going nuts right now, and I can't tell anybody about it for a year because they've got to complete the animation.
Yeah, of course.
Everything, and the game, they got to work all the bugs out and everything. But when it comes out, it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to break the internet. And I'm going to say, well, see, I told you so.
Told you so. That's awesome.
You can't really say anything because it's, all NDA, non-disclosure.
Yeah. No, of course. I'm not asking you to. I just wanted to know as a close, like if there's any plugs. Where can people connect with you? Some of your socials and whatnot.
At Wally Wingert, Instagram, Wally.Wingert, I think, on Instagram. Was that Instagram or Twitter? I can never remember.
I'll make sure to have it in the links and below for you guys.
I can't remember which one is which.
Yeah, of course.
I think at Wally Wingert is Twitter. Wally.Wingert, I think, is Instagram. And then wallyontheweb.com or wallywingert.com takes you to the same place. And email me there. I always read the emails, and it's always fun. I posted something today from a kid who's, imitating the Riddler's lines from the games. And I always get
that must be so awesome for you to see people inspired to do that stuff.
It's great because I grew up imitating a fair amount of people in my life, Andy Kaufman and Elvis Presley, Adam West, all the Muppets and all that stuff. And now to have somebody imitating me is really just amazing.
Must be definitely rewarding.
It is. And it's a bit heady, like, wow, that's pretty cool. So it always tickles me. They had a Warner Brothers a couple years ago at the studio here had Horror Made Here, Halloween thing for 3 weeks where you could tour the Warner lot, and they had mazes and stuff that you could go into. They had the Exorcist house and the house from The Shining, or not The Shining, but from It. Mm-hmm. And they had Camp Crystal Lake with Freddy Krueger, and it was a really cool thing that they set up. I was very impressed. But they invited us all because they had an Arkham Asylum maze.
Oh, wow.
And they had actors personifying each of the villains. They had a guy doing the Joker, and they had a guy doing the Penguin, they had a Two-Face, and they had a Riddler. So they had actually cast this skinny kid, who could fit in the costume and who actually looked like the video game version of the Riddler. But I said, I got to see. I got to see the living embodiment of this character. And he comes out with twirling the cane, and I can tell he's doing my voice. And I was like sitting there going, this is so amazing to see some kid out there. He's watched all the video games and studied all the things, and trying to get the words out like the Riddler would, and he's doing all this. I was like, this is fun. So we got to hang out afterwards because I let the rest of the tour move through, but I went into where he came out, and they said, hey, I'm Wally. And he said, oh, I wanted to meet you. I knew you were here. So we hung out for a while, got some pictures together. And I said,
that's awesome.
Doing a good job of the voice. Well, I'm really trying to do you justice, he said. So it was really kind of touching. So it was great.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you having you on. You're great. And everybody, as you said to start off this interview, your voice has been all around. So no matter which medium that you enjoy, you've definitely heard Wally's voice before. He's great. And one of the things I really love about you, and just talking about you further, is that you do it's always nice to talk to, someone who's in this profession who's also a fan of the things that they're working on. So
Right,
it's you could definitely tell there's a lot of passion, behind the project. And
Thank you. Well, and if you're ever on American Airlines traveling anywhere, you'll hear me on the voice overhead because I'm the voice of American Airlines. So
I'll be next time. I'll be next time I'll be.
Change your belt and put your laptop away.
Yeah. Next time I'll try to listen. I'll listen for the part where it goes,
I was
the Riddler line gets squeezed in there. It's like,
that's what's really funny. Right. That's what's really funny is people say, I felt like they'll email me. I was on American Airlines today, and I felt like the Riddler was telling me to fasten my seatbelt. There's probably still like some of the same voice print there, even though he's very professional on the
was that the Riddler?
Yeah. I finally got to hear it because I flew a lot last year, and I finally got to hear myself. I was on a flight to Minneapolis on American. And I finally got to hear me, and I wanted to stand up and go, "That's me!" So there was a really cute flight attendant, and I'm trying to get her attention. We never got a chance to, but at the end they played the "Thank you for flying American Airlines. We hope you have a great trip. Please fly with us again." And I said, "That's me." And she's like, "Oh." I said, "No, that's my voice. That's my job. I work." They said, "Oh," so they think. When you say that's my voice, they don't know really what you mean. They think that you imitate that guy or you can sound like that guy. Like,
sure,
no, that's really me. And it took even the people at the ticket counter. We were joking around. I said, "Hey, you call in to get your schedule for the week on the phone line and find out what flights you're taking." Like, yeah. And I said, "Well, does this sound familiar? You're on flight 425 to Dallas tomorrow." In the morning. And they're like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Well, that's me. I'm the guy." "You are the guy. Oh my gosh!" And then they're like laughing and everything. So, but when you say no, I'm the voice. I do that voice for that. They think that you mean I imitate that voice. Oh, I do that voice. Like I can do William Shatner. No,
yeah.
I am the Riddler. I am. So it's kind of fun. People don't really. It doesn't really register. It's fun to watch them. And
until you drop a line or something like no, you don't understand.
Because if you're Hugh Jackman and you're walking around, everybody already knows you're Hugh Jackman. But
sure.
Until you open your mouth and you do that specific voice. So I was at a convention last year called SuperCon in my hometown of Sioux Falls, and I went with my nephew or my sister and her husband and their grandson. We went to one of those Halloween stores, Spirit. And they had these really cool orange Arkham Asylum shirts. It said inmate Arkham Asylum on the back, in case you wanted to go as a villain or something. And I said, "Well, I got to have one of these because I'm gonna put my name on it and my Riddler number." And I said, "I got to have one of these." So I took it up to the check stand, and the kid, is, probably your age, younger video game player, And they said, "Oh, I love these games. These are great games." I said, "Oh, really? You play them a lot?" "Yeah." Do you like the Riddler?" "Oh, yeah. I'm trying to get those trophies. He's, always yelling at me." I'm like, "Well," and then I said, "Close your eyes." And then I go into a line and like, "Hey, that's pretty good." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's me."
What do you mean?
I'm an actor. I'm in town. Used to live here a long time ago, but I'm now. Oh my God. Then they got the cameras out and they're taking pictures, and it's really cool to watch that register on their face because they go from, "Oh yeah, I love the games," not knowing any idea who you are because obviously they don't see your face, and then you do the voice and they go, "Oh, that's pretty good. That's the best imitation I've heard."
Yeah.
Like, no, really,
you can do this. You can do the role.
No, that's me in the game. That's what it is. And then they go, "Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So
that's hysterical.
Really yeah. I like. That's one of the joys of this thing is you can kind of see that process going on through their head as you tell them, and just watching it register, and it's just a beautiful thing. So, like I said, it's a blessed life. What can I tell you?
Absolutely. And hey, many, many, many more blessings for you to come. I look forward to following you in your voice acting career. And thank you so much for coming on, and see you later. See you later, OGG.
I think my lip flaps. Learn anything today?
That's what we learned. We learned about lip flaps and how hard it is to do anime, and when the mouth is not shown, that's what any animator never wants.
Hey, look! Here comes Renji. Oops. See, I would have had to do that again.
That's true.
Hey, look! Here comes Renji.
Nope, still that.
Oh, not there.
Hey, can I add, hey, look over there, here comes Renji? Okay, that'll fill the left.
Hey, look! Here comes Hey, look over there! Here comes Renji.
I think it's only fitting to have OGG close us off. So, OGG, would you like to say anything before we go?
Sure. He's trying to get into the pizza over here, and he's not allowed. He's gonna come back over here. And,
the pizza and the Cool Ranch Doritos.
That's my heavy breathing. Is that doing anything for you?
It's not doing it for. Might do something for some people watching.
I know he doesn't have ears, but here's how Gary Owens would do it. Tune in again next time for another adventure of
Hotline Sehwani.
Hotline Sehwani. Remember Gary Owens always used to cup his ear?
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
You remember Gary Owens? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Hello, this is Gary Owens speaking.
Hi, everybody. I'm gonna go get some blocks.
Go get some blocks and some pizza.
Pizza!
That's hysterical.
Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you so much, Wally. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
And make sure to check Wally out on Instagram, Twitter, his website. Follow him there. Keep him in touch for more projects. Have a good one.
See ya.